Let's talk about the martial arts myth of the meat shield. Ooh. I made a video a while back where we tried out a Master Wong technique. And this one had some good principles in it. Had some nice arm drags and framing, pummeling to the inside. You know, good grappling principles on display from a Master Wong video. Not everything Master Wong does is terrible. And I wanted to highlight that. I wanted to show it. And at the same time, make a joke about the multiple opponent scenario and how there was another guy standing right behind him that he wasn't accounting for. Anyway. I got a lot of comments about meat shields on that one, saying, well, if I was in that scenario, I would just grab the first guy. They're talking about a multiple opponent scenario, where you have two opponents fighting you. Just grab the first guy and use him as a meat shield against the second guy. Really? That tells me that you're either a giant with some superhuman strength, who is just able to grab non-compliant humans who are fighting back and manhandle them like small children. Small children are hard enough to manhandle, man. Small children, man. I got two little kids. You try to put those kids to bed when they don't want to. It's like herding cats. You ever tried herding cats, man? I had a bunch of cats when I was a little kid. We had like 12 cats, and they were outdoor cats, not indoor cats, but they wanted to come inside. And when they came inside, my mother would always say, throw those damned bloody cats outside right this instant. My mother's English. And she would always use those English, colorful words like damned and bloody and bugger and all this other stuff. Anyway, that's about the extent of the profanity you will ever hear on this language, me quoting my mother as a child. So, my job as a child was to throw all these cats outside, so all these cats would be trying to rush in the door anytime it opened, and I would have to go and grab them and toss them back out again. But as soon as the door opened up a few inches, the cats would start squeezing and climbing all over each other to get back inside, and I would throw one out and three more would get back, and this would go on for some time. It was a chore. And that's a cat. That's a relatively small animal. Now, a grown man. Using a grown man as a meat shield. Let's assume you're an average-sized guy. And let's assume an average-sized guy attacks you. That guy probably has every physical advantage you do, if you're both average. Now, if you have two average guys attacking another average guy, what happens? Those two average guys have twice the physical advantages. Assuming they are both intent on hurting that other person. If you have one guy along for moral support who isn't actually willing to fight, that's a different thing. But if you have two guys trying to actually hurt you, that's the scenario we are talking about. And you try to control one of them and use them as a meat shield, that tells me you don't know how to grapple. That tells me you've never sparred. That tells me you've never been in a fight before. At least not as an adult against an actual adult human being. I'll often get comments from kids who got in schoolyard scraps. Well, I worked in my schoolyard scrap against this 10-year-old. That's not the same thing as fighting an adult human male. It is a world of difference as far as strength and athleticism and size and weight goes, man. Meat shield, man, that myth needs to stop, man. If you got a dead guy, an unconscious guy, for one thing, that's the only time you will ever have a compliant meat shield, and lifting that is going to be so much of a chore, you won't be able to maneuver and fight. You ever tried lifting up dead weight? It's not the same type of thing as deadlifting a barbell, an evenly balanced, perfectly weighted barbell. I imagine if you're a healthy person, it's probably pretty easy to deadlift your body weight on a barbell, right? If you've practiced deadlifting for even a relatively short amount of time, that should be a fairly simple task for an able-bodied man. Now, if you take a body, a completely limp body, and that weighs just as much as you do, and try to deadlift your body weight in that shape, in that consistency. Like trying to lift a sack of potatoes where everything's just spilling out all over. Suddenly it's not so easy anymore. A lot of people ask what I think about grappling dummies, and I have worked with a bunch of different types of grappling dummies. I'm going to make a video where I show you how to make your own out of a sweatshirt, how to use that. It's going to be great. But as far as throwing dummies, like the wrestling dummies that you practice suplexes and hip throws and that sort of thing with, a problem a lot of people get into is they order one that weighs the same as they do, or more, because they think, well, I'm going to fight a guy my size, so I'm going to get a grappling dummy my size too. And then they find out really quick that it feels like it weighs a lot more than they do. That they can't handle it. It's too heavy. It's too much. Because you're dealing with different variables. You're dealing with a dead weight that is dragging itself down to the floor. Speaking of which, quick self-defense tip: if somebody gets you in a bear hug from behind, go dead weight for a second and then move out of there. Because they'll have a much harder time holding dead weight than holding a stiff resisting person. I want you to give this a try if you still believe in the myth of a meat shield. Get some average people, people close to your size and strength, and try to control one of them. Try to control one of them as a meat shield out in front of you, while the other one tries to beat you up. See what happens. See how much control you actually have. It's not as much as you think. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and train.